5:42, local time Eastern Frontline air corridor, low altitude, tree line level, radar shadow, flight path, a lone AH-64. Apache moved silently across the forward engagement sector just 4 kilometers behind the contested contact line. Altitude, 42 feet above ground level. Speed, 132 knots. Mission profile, deep forward reconnaissance escort. But something unexpected was already happening above it. 5:43, inside the Apache cockpit. The crew activated terrain masking navigation mode. No external lights. Radio silence. Longbow radar scanning in narrow sector sweep. The helicopter was not hunting armor. It was tracking movement inside a suspected artillery relocation corridor. Then, the radar detected something unusual, not ground targets. Airborne movement, fast, very fast. 5:44. At 21,000 feet above the sector, 2 Russian Su-35 aircraft crossed the forward air boundary line. Speed, Mach 0.82. Formation, wide combat spread. Radar mode, look-down engagement sweep. Their onboard Irbis-E radar arrays scanned deep below the cloud layer, looking for something flying low, something hiding near terrain, something like an Apache. 5:45, back inside the helicopter cockpit. The Apache crew noticed it immediately. Their AN/APG-78 longbow radar began receiving intermittent interference spikes, high-power radar emissions, airborne origin, range estimate, over 40 kilometers, direction, northwest sector. The pilot spoke only 3 words, fast movers detected. 5:46. The Apache immediately changed flight geometry. Altitude dropped further, now 28 feet above ground level. Speed reduced, thermal signature minimized. The helicopter moved behind a narrow tree-covered ridgeline corridor. Classic terrain masking survival maneuver. Because against fighter jets, altitude equals death. 5:47, but the situation escalated again. A 3rd aircraft entered the airspace. This time, a Su-34 strike platform. Role, battlefield interdiction. Loadout possibility, short-range air-to-air missiles, electro-optical targeting pods, ground attack precision weapons. Now the Apache wasn't facing a patrol pair. It was facing a layered aerial presence. 5:48, inside Russian fighter cockpits. Search patterns tightened, radar cones narrowed, altitude dropped, formation, spacing reduced. Pilots were no longer scanning wide sectors. They were hunting something specific, something already detected, possibly already tracked, possibly already classified. 5:49, inside the Apache. The longbow radar switched modes, from search to threat prioritization logic. The helicopter crew now had confirmation, multiple airborne emitters, closing geometry, high-speed approach vector. The co-pilot gunner opened the countermeasure readiness panel, flare systems armed, chaff standby, laser warning receiver active. 5:50. Then something unexpected appeared on the tactical display. Another radar returned, closer, lower altitude than the fighters, approaching from the east, within 18 kilometers. Unknown identity, unknown mission profile, possibly escort aircraft, possibly forward observer platform, or possibly something hunting the Apache directly. 5:51 at the same time. Russian airborne radar sweep intensity increased. Irbis-E arrays shifted to look-down track mode, which meant only one thing. They believed the target was flying extremely low, exactly where the Apache was hiding. 5:52, inside the helicopter cockpit. The pilot made a critical decision. No retreat, no climb, no radio call. Instead, he turned the aircraft deeper toward the front line edge, closer to contested territory, closer to electronic interference zones, closer to friendly artillery coverage, because there was only one safe place left to disappear: the battlefield itself. 5:53. But at that exact moment, one of the Russian fighters changed heading, hard turn, descending spiral approach vector, radar lock geometry tightening, distance shrinking rapidly from 32 kilometers to 24 kilometers to 19 kilometers, and still closing. 5:54. Inside the Apache warning panel, a new alert appeared. Radar illumination spike, short duration, high intensity, directional lock attempt signature, not search radar anymore, fire control radar geometry, which meant one of the fighters had just switched engagement mode. 5:55. The co-pilot gunner immediately deployed the first defensive maneuver, hard left bank, treeline dive, thermal suppression alignment. But something else appeared on the tactical screen at the same moment. A 4th aircraft entering the sector, fast, very fast, approaching from behind the original Russian formation, and this new aircraft was not Russian. Eastern Frontline Air Corridor, the unknown aircraft closed rapidly. Speed, high subsonic intercept profile. Altitude, descending fast toward the Apache sector. Radar signature, Western origin, within seconds. Identification confirmed. A US F-16 Fighting Falcon entered the engagement corridor. Escort response activated. 5:56. Inside the Russian fighter formation, radar cones shifted immediately. Target priority changed because the situation had transformed. This was no longer a helicopter hunt. This had become an air-to-air standoff. 5:57. The lead Sioux. 35 altered heading. Climb vector initiated. Altitude increased from 18,000 feet to 23,000 feet. Reason, missile advantage geometry. From higher altitude, radar horizon expands. Missile kinetic range increases. Interception probability improves. 5:58. Inside the Apache cockpit. The crew understood immediately. They were no longer the primary target, but they were still inside the danger zone. Helicopters survive fighter encounters only one way, by disappearing. 5:59. The Apache dropped even lower. Altitude, now just 18 feet above ground level. Speed reduced further. The pilot aligned the aircraft behind a broken ridge structure running parallel to the frontline artillery belt. Classic terrain, shadow escape corridor, 600 above them. The F-16 switched radar mode from wide search to track while scan engagement posture. Its AN/APG-68 radar began separating airborne targets into individual engagement priorities. 3 returns confirmed, 2 fighters, 1 strike aircraft. 6:01 inside the Su-34 cockpit. Electronic warning receivers activated. Western radar lock detected. Short-range missile engagement envelope approaching. The aircraft immediately shifted position inside the formation, now moving defensive offset behind the Su-35 pair. Layered protection geometry. 6:02. Then, something unexpected happened again. The F-16 did not fire. Instead, it descended, fast, directly toward the Apache's altitude corridor. 6:03, inside the helicopter cockpit. Radio silence finally broke. Short transmission. Escort confirmed. Extraction corridor opening, but escape was still not guaranteed, because 1 Russian fighter was still descending, still tracking, still closing distance. 6:04, the trailing Su-35 initiated a shallow dive, speed increasing, radar cone narrowing, heat signature tracking probability rising. Low altitude helicopter targets become visible briefly during terrain transitions. That moment was approaching. 6:05, inside the Apache warning system, laser detection spike, infrared tracking probability increased, missile engagement window opening. The co-pilot gunner immediately armed flare deployment sequence. 6:06, above the ridgeline, the Su-35 crossed into short-range engagement geometry. Distance, under 14 kilometers, now inside theoretical infrared missile envelope. But something blocked the shot. The F-16 repositioned aggressively, cutting across the intercept vector, forcing the Russian fighter to widen its approach angle. 6:07, airspace tension peaked. 3 fighters now maneuvering inside a compressed corridor. 1 helicopter flying almost below radar visibility. 1 strike aircraft holding standoff position. And artillery interference beginning to distort radar clarity across the sector. Electronic noise increasing, tracking quality decreasing. 6:08. Then, the Apache executed its final survival maneuver. Sharp valley descent, thermal masking alignment with ground clutter. Speed increased to escape profile. Heading shifted toward friendly artillery shield zone. This was the helicopter's only exit corridor. 6:09 inside the Russian formation. Command logic changed again. Mission priority recalculated. Risk level rising. Western fighter presence confirmed. Engagement escalation probability increasing. And most importantly, frontline airspace density becoming dangerous. 6:10, the lead Su-35 climbed again. Radar switched back to wide sector monitoring mode. Missile lock sequence disengaged. Strike aircraft repositioned westward. Formation spacing widened. The intercept attempt ended. 6:11. Below them, the Apache disappeared completely. Radar contact lost. Thermal signature blended into terrain clutter. Visual acquisition impossible. Escape successful. 6:12 moments later, the F-16 climbed sharply, returned to patrol altitude, maintained escort overwatch for another 6 minutes, then exited the frontline corridor. After Aftermath analysis. This encounter demonstrated something rarely discussed publicly. Attack helicopters do not survive fighter encounters through speed. They survive through terrain, timing, electronic awareness, and escort coordination. The Apache never attempted to fight. It attempted to vanish, and it worked. Because modern air combat isn't always about who fires first. Sometimes it's about who disappears first.